let me tell you a little bit about the structure of the debate. According to Chris Wallace, when he began the debate, you were going to have 8 defined segments. In looking at the transcript, we can only find 6 defined segments because, again, the thing was such a mess. Item number 5 was climate change. And somehow he works in, as they're talking about climate change, Trump brings up the medical failures at the VA. And we all know that the VA was a terrible mess and that we did have large numbers of veterans who were denied medical care. Part of the problem is that for veterans, they have to, as I understand the previous system, when you're a vet, if you want free medical care, you have to go to a vet facility, or you have to have pre-permission to go to a civilian facility so that the VA will pay for it, Veterans Administration. So what happened is we can trace a series of deaths. There was a facility in Arizona that made the national news. It was a big explosion of interest in that, but it wasn't a situation, I think, where people really understood what was happening. There's been tremendous amount of reform in the Veterans Administration, but it was certainly not a very satisfactory situation. And that is direct government care. And one of my arguments against turning the whole medical system into government control is to say, look at the mess that the Veterans Administration is, and do you really want the rest of us to be in that particular situation when they can't manage a percentage of the population? Do you really want to give them 100% of the population? So it's kind of interesting. I still don't know how they got into that on climate change, but the two parties exchanged jabs over it, Trump and Biden, but I didn't really hear much other than the fact that the Biden backed off of supporting the Green New Deal. And Trump tried to make something of that, but he didn't do a very effective job, again, because there was so much crosstalk. But the reality is that the Green New Deal is a farce. It would shut the United States economy down. There's no realistic time frame that's inside 2050. And I am a very strong proponent of technological advancement, of increasing the number of electric cars over time, of developing safe electricity alternatives, and things like that. So it's not a question of whether you support making ecological progress. The question is, how do you do it? The reality is, you would not have a plane in the sky under the Green New Deal. It won't work. You can't do it. They run on petrol, and there's no realistic proposal to create electric airplanes yet. Might be in 100 years or 50 years. But so the reality is that we are not only energy independent, but the United States is a net exporter of energy for the first time in many years. And Trump, again, had the points, did not make the points very strong because of the bickering back and forth. But the important thing that I think could be used against Biden is, hey, you said in the debate that you're not behind the Green New Deal. You've got your own ideas. Well, let's hear that, because that's not what we've been hearing. So I think that's going to be a pretty interesting. Again, that was point number 5.
This is the book he referred to. This is his latest book, The Decline of America, 100 Years of Leadership Failures. So that gives you a little hint as to the book. But Dr. Schein takes every president from Woodrow Wilson to Barack Obama and analyzes their time in office based on the very same criteria for each one. What are some other topics that you use to actually take a look at them, Dr. Schein?
We evaluated the presidents on basically 3 standards. 1 was the success of the company, their key management decisions. 2 was their personal ethics, and 3 was the ethics that they incorporated in their rulings and decisions made in favor of America. And so we had people like Bill Clinton, who has 0 personal ethics, but had a fairly successful time in office because the economy itself did well. And then you have people like Richard Nixon, who actually accomplished several good things, but ultimately got our 1F grade. So, but those are the 3 standards that I use for each of the 17 presidents in the book.
So get this book, and you have 1 month to read it and do some research before we elect our next president. And if you want to know how any of these presidents, from Woodrow Wilson to Barack Obama, how they handled crisis. Woodrow Wilson had the last pandemic in 1917-18 time period. So if you want to see how he handled that and compare it with how we are now handling the pandemic that we have called COVID, then that's a great thing to do. You can look at both of them and see. So get this book, research it, study it, as we're making plans for the next election on November 3rd. So we would invite you, if you have questions about the debate or questions about anything that Dr. Schein has talked about today, that you would post them in the comments, either on YouTube below the video or anywhere you see the video. We would welcome your comments. Or you can send an email. And what email address, Dr. Schein, should they contact?
Probably the easiest way to do that is contact me through LinkedIn, as I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I do respond to comments there. Also, if they go to our consulting website, ClaremontManagementGroup.com, is that there is a contact there, and you can contact me through that address. So I'm very easy to get to.
Thank you for joining us. Again, leave your comments below for Dr. Schein, and we look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you.